Hi, friends. Today we're coming at you with another episode of Old People Wisdom, hashtag OPW. I want to talk about something today that most people say they quote unquote struggle with, and it's the concept of boundaries. And what does boundary even mean? What does boundary mean to you? To me, boundary means that I have a standard of life that I want to adhere to, whether that be integrity, the way I treat other people, the way I want to be treated. I have a standard that I have in my mind of how I want the world to show up and how I want to show up in the world. And if I'm involved with someone else in a relationship, whether it be a friendship, an acquaintance, a business deal, I have an expectation. We're going to come back to that word, expectation. I have an expectation that that person is going to show up in the same vein or according to my standards. And when someone doesn't show up according to my standards, they have in effect crossed a boundary with me. Maybe it's the way that integrity shows up in the world. Integrity means very different things to very different people, right? So maybe it's they did something I consider sketch that they didn't have any problem with at all. But for me, it crossed a boundary. Let's go back to that word expectations for a minute. That's where we get into trouble. Anytime you have an expectation, one of my mentors, Dan, used to say, expectations are disappointments looking for a place to happen. Expectations are disappointments looking for a place to happen. I thought that's brilliant. It's not to say that you shouldn't have a plan or you shouldn't have an idea of the final outcome that you're attempting to reach. That's not what we're saying. We're saying to expect that outcome to look a specific way. That expectation leads to disappointment. You can have an idea of how you would like it to turn out, but to be so locked in with an expectation, you're really just setting yourself up for a less than pleasant experience because you were so attached. That's a whole nother video we're going to talk about is attachment. But let's go back to this idea of boundaries. What would it be like for you to get really good with no is a complete sentence? No is a complete sentence. Remember, we talked in the last video about eating the elephant one bite at a time and overbooking ourselves and overcommitting ourselves so egregiously that we don't have any time or space left in our lives for ourselves. So what if for the next 24 hours, you practiced no is a complete sentence, and instead of saying yes to everything and letting FOMO run your life, what if you practice saying no to things that genuinely are going to not take you to the direction that you want to go for your goals? We say yes to things for all manners of reasons, but mostly, if we're being honest, out of a sense of obligation. So we say yes to things that don't further us down our paths to where we want to be. So what if for just 24 hours you practiced being in the space of discernment? Does this, saying yes to this, take me toward my dream or my goal or away from my dream or goal? And if the answer is away from, I invite you to say no and stand firm in your no, that no is a complete sentence. No is not a judgment call. No is not a judgment against you or the person who invited you to something or the event itself. No does not have judgment anywhere in it unless you decide to put it in. No is simply a statement of, I don't choose this right now in this moment. That's it. Don't assign another meaning to it. No is a complete sentence. Along with the no, if you're brave enough for 24 hours, give yourself the challenge of doing it for a week. See what being in the practice of no is a complete sentence will do in your world for 1 week. And you're not saying no to something that you genuinely want. Please hear that. If you really want to do something, by all means, say yes to that. I'm talking about saying no to those things that you know you don't genuinely want to do or you feel you're going to do out of a sense of obligation. What if you just very kindly said, thank you for the offer. I'm a no this time, or I'll pass, and stand firm in that. No is a complete sentence, could be a game changer. Thanks for dropping in for another episode of Old People Wisdom, hashtag OPW. If you're enjoying this series, if you're finding value with that, feel free to subscribe to this channel, like the video, share it with friends. My goal is that over the next year, we have a bunch of content in here that you can pull up and you can tap into anytime you need just a little bit of Old People Wisdom.